Welcome back, all of you music lovers, to another exciting edition of Battle of the Ballads featuring Gregory, Joseph, and myself. The year is 2012, and we got quite a few responses. I'm not going to tell you how long or short my list was for this year because there's a lot of excitement that went into other people's lists. And Greg, I noticed yesterday you had a couple people who chimed in on your request for some tracks there.
Yeah, do you want me to read the ones I have first?
Yeah. What do we get?
Okay, so my buddy Chirp, who has been mentioned a lot of times and chimed in last week, he's almost on board. He doesn't have proper internet right now in the little mountain town outside of Pittsburgh he lives in, so he's not watching, but he is contributing lists. But he said longer list this time: Starlight, Taylor Swift, Spent Gladiator 2, Mountain Goats, Nice Things, the Menzingers, Lover of the Light, Mumford & Sons, Stubborn One, Lumineers, Metric featuring Lou Reed's Wanderlust, Harley Poe, who I'm glad he mentioned again coming in. I didn't realize Harley Poe had an album this year. Also, I'd missed the first couple Harley Poe albums. So sorry, Harley Poe. Our 18 listeners may have actually bumped you up a little bit on Spotify, but Motion City soundtrack, Son of a Gun. Then he said, I can't believe I forgot the actual song of the year, Timber.
Kesha.
Yeah. Pitbull featuring Kesha, I believe.
I think it was, yeah. It was a Kesha featuring Pitbull.
One of the two. I mean, Pitbull's on everything for a couple years.
So I actually don't think it was on the Kesha album that came out this year.
It wasn't on the Kesha album.
I'm pretty sure it's actually billed as Pitbull featuring Kesha. And
it wasn't a bonus track?
It wasn't a bonus track on the Kesha, as far as I know.
Oh. It might have been a bonus on a re-release. I didn't look at that because that would have been a different year.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess technically it could be re-released in 2012.
Yeah, if someone knows the answer or wants to look it up and tell us, leave us a comment about it. Then he finishes and says, well, I guess this is the beginning of his list, but I wanted to go for he said his actual song of the year. He says, all this will be ignored for Carly Rae Jepsen, but I wrote it out anyway. Chirp knows how much I love Carly Rae. He has heard me out of the line. Multiple Juno award-winning Canadian pop goddess Carly Rae Jepsen, more than anyone in the world. But, the staff I liked at Target at that time have all heard me say it a lot. Well, I said it a lot. Then
you still say it a lot.
I do. It's still true though. So Ray, who I knew in Pittsburgh, said "Thinking About You" by Frank Ocean was released in 2012. She said "Ass Back Home" by Gym Class Heroes, Rihanna's "Stay," and then she said that "Anna Sun" from Walk the Moon might be her favorite track of that year. So thank you to them both for contributing, especially Chirp. I have gone to more concerts with Chirp than anyone. I think Buck, who's been mentioned a few times, who we all know and love, might be the second most. And I don't know which one of the two I've had more drinks with over the years, but they're probably one and two, those two as well. So
I love it. No, it's cool to see participation outside of the normal ones too, just to kind of get some more folks in the mix to spread it across the country a bit more. So I think that's a lot of fun. I got quite a few responses, starting with Seamus Gillespie. He said, "Go Folk Yourself" from Bumpin' Uglies. Said it's a masterpiece in his opinion, and every song hits on that album. Hallucinations, High Hopes, Morning After, Struggling, etc. Reagan from the rap music from Killer Mike was awesome too. Sherry Nutter Timothy said she can't pick just one song for this year because two of her favorite albums dropped, that being Hailstorm's I Miss the Misery off of Strange Case and Love Bites and Beautiful With You, as well as In Your Room. She also gave us from Truth About Love from Pink, Try and Give Me Just One Reason, as well as Great Escape, which none of those were actually the Pink song that made my list, interestingly enough. Tanya Gang gave us I Will Wait from Mumford & Sons. I absolutely love that video. Ellen Sadler, who I believe is our one person who's given us one every single week since we started. So Ellen, thank you, friend. She's also got a sweet sweater game that she's been sharing lately. So stay up on Ellen's sweaters and socks for the season. She gave us Diamonds from Rihanna, Locked Out of Heaven from Bruno, Overview from Miranda Lambert, Home from Philip Phillips, Blown Away from Carrie Underwood, I Won't Give Up from Jason Mraz, Radioactive from Imagine Dragons, If I Walk Away from her boy Josh Groban, so she got to sneak one in there, Wide Awake from Katy Perry, and then she gave us Gangnam Style from Psy. Gives props to the sheer cultural impact it had. I'm personally not a fan of it, neither am I, but go him. Gen Pop Benz, Set Fire to the Rain from Adele, Give Me a Reason, Pink, Titanium from David Guetta and Sia, love that song, Fucking Problems from ASAP Rocky, and pretty much anything from Mclemore that came out. I think Mclemore just released a new album like 2 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure. Justin Zane, who actually gave us quite the list. I don't know if folks saw, but he showed me a list of his that was longer than I think 3 of my years combined that he had to whittle down. So props to Justin for getting that out. He ended up with Walk the Moon with Anna's Son, Bastille with Bad Blood, Alt J with Breeze Blocks, Fun with Carry On, Imagine Dragons, Demons, Hall of Fame from The Script, Madness from The Muse, Arctic Monkeys, Are You Mine, Adele, Skyfall. He says up there for best Bond song ever, along with Paul McCartney's Live and Let Die. I absolutely love that song. Passion Pit, Take a Walk. And he said it was tough to get this one down to his usual 10. Yeah, his list was quite large. My guy, Tom Hernandez, who's making a comeback to the stage here after the pandemic and everything with his folks out in our area. It's love to see it. He gave us Run Out with Adele. Corey Banker, he said everything by Adele that year. It was a big year for Adele. I absolutely love that album. Also, her new album is spectacular if anybody hasn't heard it yet. And he said everything by Maroon 5 that year. Sorry, big fan of both. And he said, and I believe you guys had some dialogue about this, Call Me Maybe from Carly Rae Jepsen. Wasn't a huge fan of this song, but it was played all the time and everywhere. And It Will Rain from Bruno Mars. He says he thinks it's one of his best songs, and I think that it is his best song. So Corey and I seem to be on the same wavelength quite often. Now, I've been loving the banter in the comments too. You know, folks are connecting over music and stuff like that. It doesn't have to stop there. You can do it in the comments on these videos. When you like and subscribe and come back every week, you can totally have these discussions. It'll be beautiful. It'll be great. And maybe you'll add some more stuff to your own playlist that we don't even add to ours. So solid choices this week. Gregory, notable debuts seem to be down from what I noticed, but what did you come across?
Well, I have quite a list. The band Wakatachi, indie female-driven punk band who are great. This album didn't hit with me, but still fun album. A gentleman who will definitely come up in our Canadian release, the John K. Sampson of The Weaker Thens. This is his solo debut. A present from Buck, actually, that year. So thank you, Buck, for that. It's a great album. I couldn't pick one song off this. We've run into a couple times on the show where like an album just has to be listened to it as an album. This is one of those. I mean, I think the Weaker Thens in general, just got to listen to them. Mm-hmm. And I think Adele was right to ask Spotify to remove the shuffle off this latest album of hers, because yes, occasionally you just need to listen to the album, listen to the whole album. Artists still think about the track list. And Emil Sandy, who's a Scottish singer-songwriter, Sown, which is a Swedish metal supergroup, Primal Rock Rebellion, which is a British metal supergroup. So the European metal supergroups were out in force this year. Memory House, which is a Canadian dream pop. They're okay, nothing I'm ever gonna love. Last Dinosaur, who are like an Australian band, who another case, like they're fun. They've got a big following in Japan, and if you listen to them, it kind of fits Japan. They're not they're close to some of the punk bands that have come out of Japan in the last couple of years. Odd Future, they've released a bunch of mixtapes, but this was like the first like a major label for them. Jack White, he's had 87 projects with debut albums, but this is the solo debut for him. Deuce from Hollywood Undead. So because what the world needed was more Hollywood Undead music.
Yeah.
Kip Moore, which might be like only the second country artist I've mentioned with a debut album, but that was this year. Brandon Small of Metalocalypse, and more importantly, Home Movies, which was brilliant. His debut album was released this year. I know Metalocalypse had a debut, an album already, but yeah, this was his debut. Father John.
It's really interesting because that album also features the dudes who play in Death Clock. So it was Brendan Small's debut album, but also featuring the rest of Death Clock anyway.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
And I mean, if you've watched any of the stuff he's involved with, like he did go to Berkeley Music and dropped out to pursue like the life he's had, and it kind of worked out for him, I guess. I think home movies might be the most underrated of the adult cartoons out there. And Metalopolis is the phenomena it was for a reason as well. Father John Misty, who is well known in the indie music scene. I've never been a big fan, but I have so many friends that just love Father John Misty's music. Zowie, the New England singer-songwriter, only because I mentioned an Australian band, I had to mention someone from New Zealand too. Chris Robinson Brotherhood, who is the guitarist, frontman of the Black Crowes, released a solo. Milo Green, Frank Ocean, Rita Ora, Farrara Abraham of Teen Mom and internet pornography fame. She released her solo debut album this year. Peter Buck of REM. Kind of crazy that he never released an album. I know he was doing a lot of like soundtracks and scores before this, but this is the album. Mclemore and Ryan Lewis. This was the debut major label. I know the two of them will make music together forever. ZZ Ward, an artist my brother put me on 2 years ago. Her debut album was this year. Jake Bugg and Mac DeMarco, all their solo albums. Also, I don't know why I didn't list it on this. Jeff Rosenstock's debut album was this year. Really okay album. I love Jeff Rosenstock. This is not one of his better albums, but worth checking out. So even though I don't have him on any of my lists, I'm definitely gonna throw a song or two on the playlist when we make it, just because everyone should listen to Jeff Rosenstock. And then Gary Clark Jr. was mentioned 2 years ago, as Dan mentioned a song. He had the EP that was in 2011. 2012 was the solo debut album. And it's just this brilliant, wonderful album. So I think I first saw him on Conan, which, fun fact about that, unfortunately, now that Conan is gone, artists received a significant boost on Conan, more so than any other late night talk show.
Yeah.
It was like, by follows, Apple, iTunes plays, and Spotify plays. It was a bigger boost from Conan than any of the other shows. So, which is crazy. He was also like, before he went to the half an hour thing and then retired from late night, he was the last one really showing stand-up comics regularly, as he'd do a couple, like over 100 year.
And he featured them well too. It wasn't like an afterthought. He actually featured them.
Yeah, it was something he really, really appreciated. I mean, Peter Buck, who booked his stand-up comedy, was huge into that. Like his bookers for talent were just huge into it and always looking to. I mean, Conan's first show was the first show to have Radiohead. So we'll miss Conan and late night in that form, and because of the artist. I mean, Frank Turner's been mentioned a few times. It's like Conan was the first time I'd heard Frank Turner. So little sad fact about Conan being off there. We'll see what happens with his HBO show, but yeah, those were the debuts. I mean, I wanted to fill out the list a little bit, so that's why I kind of had to stretch it with our European super metal groups. But I just love that that's the thing that was happening at that time.
Well, not just that, but I mean, it usually takes about 10 to 15 years for them to come here and get big too, after those scenes. So it could very well be an artist that you named on this list here could easily come see us in the next couple of years, which is kind of funny and cool at the same time. So I love it. I love the work you put into all that. And now, Joseph, I'm curious about your list for the year. Any shockers coming out for Song of the Year?
No, I don't think so. I actually struggled. Just today, I was asking Gregory if it was okay if I just abstained from picking a Song of the Year.
Oh my.
It's really interesting because there's quite a few songs that I like, but the song I ended up picking, I picked because because of a live performance we saw recently that absolutely blew me away. But if it hadn't been for that live performance, I probably wouldn't have picked a Song of the Year, because there's nothing this year that on its own actually spoke to me more than I just like it. And in fact, Gregory mentioned ZZ Ward, who I turned him on to because I happened to see her live when she came to Thule, of all places, because why not come play for 30 people in a small small bar in the Arctic Circle. But I couldn't tell you a single song off that album. She's the type of artist I put on in the background because I like it, but it doesn't speak to me in any way.
Gotcha.
But we'll start with my my Punk Goes update. This was almost the song of the year. I don't normally do covers, but I almost said to hell with it because I couldn't think of anything else. But this ended up being Punk Goes Pop Volume 5. I mentioned last year that 4 or 5 was my favorite in the series. I decided it's 5 for sure after reviewing the track list this year. The main covered Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and it's a fantastic cover of it. They slow it down a little bit more, and they put a little bit more of their nasally, whiny voice behind it, and it brings something different to the lyrics. We Came as Romans covered Glad You Came, and it just smashes you in the face differently than the upbeat pop version of before. Mayday Parade, somebody that I used to know, similar to the main, they put a little bit more of an angsty twist to it. Not that the original's not angsty, but it's slightly different. And then of course Secrets covered Ass Back Home, which I heard this song first before the Gym Class Heroes original, and I cannot listen to the original. I think it is so inferior to this version of the song. I've heard it once and I was like, I never need to listen to this song again. And I know a lot of people will probably disagree with that. I mean, it showed up on at least one list when you're going through the comments. So I'm sure at least one person disagrees with me, but yeah. But
your life. Yeah.
So my list of regular music, non-covers, mostly non-covers probably. Fun, my choice is Some Nights. Fun's not really a band I care that much about. This song was just everywhere during this year. Neon Trees, the album, the album I like less. I like their first one quite a bit better, but Everybody Talks was probably their biggest hit. It was massive that year when it came out, and then they also had Lessons in Love, All Day All Night, which was pretty massive. I think it didn't pick up steam until probably the year after 2013, but Hailstorm, which was mentioned, released their best album this year. Love Bites, So Do I, Miss Hyde are both fantastic. I've seen them live twice, and they're always a good show. Matchbox 20 released North this year, and at the time, I didn't like this album. I really slept on it, but I was in Walgreens a few months ago, and Our Song came on. I got really excited. I was like, wow, are we getting new Matchbox 20? And I Shazammed it, and I was like, oh, it's off that album I dislike. And I went back and I re-listened, and it's not, there are some ones I don't like. The one that got most popular, She's So Mean, not my favorite off the album, but Our Song's really good. But yeah, I slept on that a little bit. Atlantis Morissette came in with one of her few like big singles after her 90s run with Guardian, which got quite a bit of traction at the time. Good Time I have on here twice because it ended up on the Owl City CD as featuring Carly Rae Jepsen, and then it ended up on Carly Rae Jepsen's album as with Owl City. So I put it on here twice. It's on my list twice. But in addition to that, I also have Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae. Calvin Harris, I broke my own rule a little bit because I included more songs than I normally do. I tend to cap myself at 3, but I feel like after this album dropped, Calvin Harris was on every station, every third song, because there were so many massive singles. Like on his own, you had Feel So Close. With Rihanna, We Found Love. Ellie Goulding, I Need Your Love. Florence Welch, Sweet Nothing. And then there was a handful of other singles that didn't do quite as big. But I feel like Calvin Harris was nonstop on every radio station for at least the next 18 months after this album dropped.
It makes me regret never learning to use a keyboard appropriately.
Right? It's amazing. And
he makes me happy I wasn't listening to the radio.
Honestly, I can't fault it. The 4 songs I listed are actually decent pop songs. Like you pick people who have great voices, Rihanna, Ellie Goulding, Florence Welch, and you put a good pop beat behind them, and it's smash hit. I don't question that. Just like the fact that
the radio gets oversaturated with the same artist at the same time. Just like there's so
Absolutely.
much fucking music out there. Why are we getting overly saturated? It's like living on the Canadian border, having to listen to that much Nickelback.
Yeah. But if you were to
Fair.
say the hip, I'd be all about it all day, every day.
Pink's album this year, this one I could kind of miss a little bit, but she did the song featuring Nate Roos. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Yeah. Just Give Me a Reason, which again was everywhere, and it is a really beautiful song. Kesha released Die Young this year, and obviously featuring or was featured on Pitbull for Timber. So both those came out this year. In This Moment had maybe my favorite of their albums as well this year, Blood, with both Blood and Whore on it. Really great, just hit you in the face with music. A lot of energy and emotion behind the lyrics. It's really good. And then Walk the Moon with their self-titled album. I have a number of them off this one. Jenny and Shiver Shiver. And then moving to my short list, we're going to see Hailstorm pop back up with In Your Room, which was mentioned on somebody else's list. And I'm glad that got some love because that song is really, really fantastic. Dave Matthews Band released an album this year with Broken Things on it, which is not my favorite of Dave's songs, but it's meaningful to Amanda and I as a couple. She has lyrics from it tattooed on her arm. A really beautiful set of lyrics. So there's a lot of meaning behind that one. In This Moment, I already mentioned when I mentioned the other song, but Whore falls on my short list. And then my song of the year comes from Walk the Moon, Anna Sun. This song was the lead single off that album, and it is a good song. It probably wouldn't have been my choice off this album if we hadn't just seen Walk the Moon last month. They saved this song for the encore, which I was not expecting. I really would have thought they would have closed the show with Shut Up and Dance because that was the biggest hit they had. But they closed it with Anna Sun, and the energy and the participation from the crowd was something I haven't seen in a while at a concert. And part of that's just we haven't been able to do a lot of concerts, but part of that was also the venue and their stage presence and their showmanship. And it was just it was a next level experience for a live performance, and so it kind of pushes this song over the top for me. So awesome. It was really close. I wasn't sure I was going to pick a song of the year this year.
That's honestly a really great song, and I'm glad that it got so much love on here because they had a few other tracks that were much more well known than this, and I'm glad to see people pulling that up because lyrically it's a great song, but it's just I don't know, that's the first song I heard from them before any of their other stuff, and I like it much better than their other stuff.
And that's the reason I really thought they would close the show with one of the other ones. Most specifically, I really thought Shut Up and Dance would be the one that would close down, because not only is it probably the biggest hit they've had, but it's also literally the title is Shut Up and Dance. Yeah. So from a crowd concert energy perspective, that's a very easy one to cultivate that interaction with the crowd. Yeah. So not only from a hits perspective, but from a playing off the crowd perspective, it makes the most sense to me. No, and I'm glad they didn't do that. They really threw me for a loop that it was Anna Sun, and it ended up being a great choice. So I mean, I'm an idiot, I guess. So
well, I'm glad you got to experience that. That's awesome.
So I have 2 points about your list, Joe. First, 2 of your songs in your short list were mentioned by other people, which is awesome. This was for a year you weren't too happy about. You kind of connected with the folks who are interested in this.
True.
And also, I've noticed the more you see Dave Matthews Band live, the more they're getting love from you. So
I'm noticing that as well.
So folks, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can see where we go after Battle of the Ballads and see how much love Joe's going to give in future projects that we do.
Well, I mean, we probably won't be seeing him live again until next Labor Day. So,
well, we'll watch you get your Dave Matthews tattoo in between. That'll be one of our segments. That'll be great. It's your favorite band ever. Now, Gregory,
just be a dancing Nancy on my cheek.
I have no idea what that means,
because that's allowed in the military.
But Gregory, I know we have a Carly fueled list, but what do you got for us this year, my friend?
Oh, I do have a lot of Carly because, as you guys are now well aware, she is the multiple Juno Award-winning Canadian pop goddess. But I have a lot. I'm going to start with Candy Hearts, and I don't know if anyone noticed earlier, but I adjust my screen to get
I noticed the shirt.
the logo of the shirt wasn't in the beginning of the video visible, so I had to adjust it. Miles and Interstate and Replacement Parts might be my favorite 2-track run of the year off this. This was a big year for Candy Hearts. They build Chad Gilbert produced this album. They worked in his record label. They were on his record label. He actually, I believe, was responsible for getting them on Warped Tour that year. So big year for Candy Hearts. So I just wanted to start with them. But Not a Surf released an album. They're currently on tour right now. They went through quick. Unfortunately, came nowhere close to us. But When I Was Young, The Moon Is Calling would have been in contention for best 2-track if I didn't want to give that love to Candy Hearts. But those are the opening 2 tracks, I believe, off that album. Lana Del Rey, Born to Die, and Blue Jeans. Born to Die might be my favorite opening track of the year. And then Ben Folds 5. This is the last ever Ben Folds 5 album. I guess not completely true. They have a live album released in 2013, but 4 actual studio albums. This is the last one. And Ben Folds once again worked with author Nick Hornby as he wrote one of the tracks on this album. But Sky High, Draw a Crowd, and Do It Anyway off that are my favorite 3 off that album. It's the least favorite of my Ben Folds 5 albums. I think it was just kind of hard for him to get back with the band after going solo for so long. Frank Ocean debut Pink Matter featuring Andre 3000, because this is like prime Andre 3000 just does guest spots. And then Sweet Life. Insane Clown Posse. They've kind of fallen off of, I think, the height of them in the early 2000s, but they released Chris Benoit, which, yes, was named after the wrestler Chris Benoit, but it's actually like an anti-suicide, like live the best of your life album. So it's a really positive track. I know they get this reputation, but
Yeah.
they always have like one upbeat, positive, embrace life track per album. Just they're wearing clown makeup when they do it. So
as you do.
Mclemore and Ryan Lewis, obviously Thrift Shop was just everywhere that year. Can't Hold Us, I think, was my favorite off that a little bit more. There's just something about going down while you're dancing and pretending the ceiling's crushing you that I just love. So for just the dances alone, Kendrick, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. I just love that track.
Yes.
Joe mentioned Kesha, Die Young, Crazy Kids, then Dirty Love featuring Iggy Pop. Just really, really another great album. The Ting Tings, who I forgot were a thing until I went through this list, so I had to go back and listen to this album. But Give It Back and One by One and Guggenheim were all just really, really great tracks off this album from them. Regina Spektor, as you guys know, another of my favorites. Small Town Moon, O Marcello, and Don't Leave Me Now, parentheses, Nate Me Ket Passe, which, sorry for anyone who actually speaks French and how about I butchered that. But it had to be on the list. Like, that's my 3-track run. But also, like, with Don't Leave Me Now, the chorus is Don't Leave Me Now, and then she sings it again in French, and it's just brilliant. I just love that track. It's just really, really great. The Menzgers, who were on Chirp's list, Good Things and Burn After Reading are my 2 favorites off that. Chirp also had mentioned Harley Poe. My favorite is I'm a Killer off that album, probably my favorite Harley Poe track as well. The Mountain Goats as well. Amy, aka Spent Gladiator, was the opening track off that one. Then Spent Gladiator 2, because that's a very Mountain Goats thing to have a theme throughout multiple songs in an album. And then Cry for Judas. Those are, I think, the 3 best tracks off that album. Fiona Apple releasing another album named after a poem. Daredevil and Periphery, my favorites on that. Gary Clark, Ain't Messing Around in the Life, I think, are my 2 favorite tracks off that album. And then my short list, which I added an extra song in case Joe abstained, so I did 6 for my short list just in case. But Super Rich Kids featuring Earl Sweatshirt and Thinking About You off that Frank Ocean album. That album is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Swimming Pools, Drank from Kendrick Lamar. I know it's not the best song off that album, but it was everywhere and it is still so fun. Kesha's Only Want to Dance With You. I just think another wonderful album and reminiscent of what she's going to become once she leaves Dr. Luke.
Yeah.
And then off that Candy Hearts album, Bad Idea, which maybe is my favorite Candy Hearts album or Candy Hearts track. I think I like maybe As Meryl Becomes Best Ex. There might be a couple tracks I like better than Bad Idea, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And my favorite Carly Rae off that first album, which, as I'd mentioned, she has multiple Juno Award winning, and for this album alone, multiple Junos. So just a really great album. I know everyone, you could mock Call Me Maybe, but think about the fact that on this album, she has a writing credit on every single song, including The Good Time with Owl City. She shares writing credits with them. So she's she's actually like a brilliant artist, and Call Me Maybe was the perfect summer track.
Can you really mock Call Me Maybe though? I mean, look how widespread it was to where even we were getting like military videos of them like shooting this stuff. Like the song did exactly what a pop song is supposed to do. You cannot
exactly. It's also like to be 26 years old, I think she was at the time, and to write a track that's perfect for 13 to 16-year-old girls, like that's not easy to do. There's a reason that guys make giant careers out of writing these pop tracks for artists, because it's hard to capture what the teenage market's going to be as an adult. And so the fact that she did that with that track alone is, if that was her entire career, like I know the derided one-hit wonder, and some people even consider that, which they're wrong. She has many radio hits, but Tonight I'm Getting Over You, Song of the Year, Carly Rae Jepsen. I think it's just brilliant. I think this one could fit in any of her later albums as well, because the sound does mature a little bit, as it should. But I think this one would have fit on any of the upcoming albums for Carly Rae Jepsen. So that is the Song of the Year.
I was curious which one you're going to go with, and I listened to numerous just to see like which one I thought it would be, and I honestly had no pick. And to be quite honest, yes, it's pop music, but if you actually listen to the lyrics on a lot of her stuff, even beyond just this album, you know, she released a lot of stuff after this that people don't know about. Even was
they will soon.
Even how many reallys was it? Was it 6 reallys? Like you?
Yeah.
Still, like, great songwriting. That's like you have your chorus and everything else that sticks people's heads, but like the playfulness with the words and stuff, like she's a solid songwriter, and she doesn't have some 60-year-old dude in his basement writing these tracks for her. She's legit doing it. So I've never given her any hate. I think she's a very talented artist.
She also like tours the same backing band all the time, and she released during quarantine a track they did like all separately doing their parts, but with like my band. And it was kind of great to see, even long distance, like filming the camaraderie she has with the band. So curious though, Dan, what song did you think I was going to go with Song of the Year with Carly?
I genuinely didn't have a guess, like at all. I just knew it'd be one, and I listened to them all, and I'm like, these are all good. So
yeah, it was tough. It was going to be either this or Guitar String / Wedding Ring.
Yeah, I didn't have any guesses other than I was just happy to revisit this album that I really hadn't revisited in a while. So my list was made extensively shorter by everybody else's comments, and there's some that I don't know if people realize came out that year, and I didn't either, but so I had As Long As You Love Me and Boyfriend from Justin Bieber, Babel and Hopeless Wanderer from Mumford & Sons, Battle Scars from Lupe. I'll always give a shout out to Lupe whenever I can. Bees in the Trap and Starships from Nicki Minaj. Our guy Oscar Isaac, who's going to be Mr. Moon Knight in a series I'm very excited about, gives Best I Never Had from a movie he was actually in as a musician, which I love the movie and the soundtrack. So that was excellent. Blow Me One Last Kiss is the one Pink song I was surprised didn't get mentioned. That's the one I really enjoy. Climax from Usher. Cruise from Florida Georgia Line, not because I like it, but because it put them on the map and Nelly came back. So cultural phenomenon altogether right there.
That's a reason to not include it.
We had Cups from Anna Kendrick. Demons. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Demons. It's Time on Top of the World from Imagine Dragons, who just kind of took the game over in a lot of ways. I don't know if it was said Die Young from Kesha. If it was already said, I don't care. It's a great song, so I'll say it again. Taylor released Red, and you'll find songs in this album on 2 lists now. But she released Red, and Everything Has Changed. I Knew You Were Trouble, 22, State of Grace, The Lucky One, and Your Buddy Mentioned Starlight. All great tracks. Zoe and I were just listening to the Red as it should be listened to today in the car on our way to Target. Feel Again from One Republic, Gone, Gone, Gone from Philip Phillips. Hard to Love from Lee Brice, so another country making my list. Ho Hey from the Lumineers, Hold On from Alabama Shakes. That whole album was great. Latch from Disclosure, which gave us a little glimpse into Sam Smith right there. Excellent track. Let Her Go from Passenger, Nowhere Kids from Shinedown. You mentioned that Overjoyed album, Joe, or not Overjoyed, the Matchbox 20 album, North. Overjoyed on that is actually mine and Lauren's song post-marriage. It didn't exist when we were married, so we had Van Morrison as our wedding song, but we are renewing our vows in a few years for our 20th anniversary. And so we are going to have Overjoyed as our song. We're actually getting tattoos on our wrists with that on it. So it's funny you mentioned the tattoo thing. Yeah. Tonight, Best You Ever Had from John Legend. Top 5 John Legend songs for me. I absolutely love that song. And Andre on there makes it even better. And When I Was Your Man from Bruno Mars rounds that list out. And on my top 3, I had All Too Well from Taylor Swift, which it's funny because I told you guys a few weeks ago I made this list before, I've been making my list well in advance because just all the projects going on and stuff. And so that made it. And then all of a sudden, All Too Well just boom when she released this new recording of her album. So pumped she's doing that for herself. But so that was already in there. Swimming Pools from Kendrick. It's just a spectacular track, no matter how you want to look at it. I love it. My song of the year in this top 3 is Girl on Fire from Alicia Keys. I just absolutely love this track. I think it resonated in so many ways for so many people. Sung beautifully, the mood behind it, it was just tops for me. So Girl on Fire, Alicia Keys for 2012 for this guy.
I can't hear that song and not think Katniss Everdeen. So
what do you mean?
Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games, she is the girl on fire.
I've just never seen the Hunger Games.
Yeah, that should be maybe a couple years before you and Zoe can watch that.
Don't bother, actually. Just watch movies 1 and 2 and then just skip 3 and 4. They're bad.
Jenna Malone is in 3 and 4, so watch 3 and 4.
Doesn't matter. 3 has 0 story whatsoever. It's a placeholder for money making purposes, and then 4 is just awful.
I think I caught 10 minutes of 1 at some point, and I just said, wow, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen, and I just stopped watching, just vowed to never watch them. But I like how eclectic our list was this week. Now, 2013, we're moving there, and our episodes are dwindling down, so it's going to be fun to see where we go next.
Well, I mean, you took half the soundtrack songs we were going to talk about this year, so
yeah, that happens.
That Cup song, what a phenomenon, though. The fact that they took a clip from Pitch Perfect and then made a full video and a full song based around it, good for Anna Kendrick, good for everyone involved in that franchise.
Yeah, I love Anna Kendrick. She's awesome. I'll listen to anything and watch anything. Joseph, any shout outs, my friend? I know you're not feeling well. So tonight you pulled a Jordan for us. You played in the playoffs here with the flu. I appreciate it. Any shout outs or special mentions?
No, I don't think so. Night, Ani.
There's one. The girls are going to bed. Gregory, what do you got, my friend?
Just the usuals. Cool Points. Find me on Facebook. Find me on the Substack. Substack.com/Cool Points. No Coast Defenders. We just put a new episode up today. We'll be jumping into Hawkeye. I know you and I are both excited about this Hawkeye film, even though somehow there are bad reviews already. But
what the
I've read on Twitter that the first 2 episodes are very good.
So it's funny, you've read that on Twitter, as have I, yet the reviews that get credit have said that it's absolutely a mess. So
listen, just refer back to my tweet about the Eternals.
I'm looking to just enjoy this even more than I ever thought I could, just to spite them. Then I'm going to blast them on every avenue I'm in. So
so check out every Tuesday morning No Coast Defenders as Dan and I go through Hawkeye, and then everything that's next. And my friends like cool shit on YouTube. I believe young Miss Zoe will be joining me here soon to give her experience of watching Harry Potter with you. So
yeah, I mean, she told me I got it wrong, so she's going to write the wrongs of this household, and she got a Hermione wand today, so she's been performing spells on me as well. So we'll see what happens. I may actually grow some hair. I have a shout out for a friend of the show. He's commented on numerous occasions. Corey Mosier Kesserling. He has a bunch of film review stuff he does. It's really cool. He's on Twitter. He's got a podcast everywhere. He's just a fun local dude with a really big heart. And if you want to check him out on Instagram, it's That Sounds Terrible Pod. Definitely link with him. He's on a few different platforms for his podcast. It's great. And he is the Bosie's Man on Twitter. So that's TheBoCesman on Twitter. And as we talked about the reviews just moments ago about Hawkeye, he's not that guy. He's one who fills you with some hope. And if he doesn't like something, he doesn't completely trash it. He just tells you the components he doesn't like and what he would change and hopes that you enjoy it. So definitely check out Corey. He's a great local guy, and you won't be upset about following and checking out. And also, my weekly blog on toysnip.com comes out every Monday morning coffee with Dan. Dive into all things pop culture. Lately, it's been a lot of Marvel, but because that's pretty much all we got at the moment. But I'll be reviewing Hawkeye and doing all sorts of stuff on there, but also as I mentioned on No Coast Defenders, they're donating 1,000 toys to Pops for Patients New York. And
awesome.
I can't not promote that. So it's also a local business in my area. The warehouse is 30 minutes from my house and they're shipping out of there. And anyone even wants to give 1,000 toys to kids, I can't knock. So check that out too. But thank you for tuning in weekly. And it's been awesome just to see the responses every week and the different genres of music, and yet everybody comes together and still shares their comments. And I love the banter that we get going. So it's awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And we're in the home stretch now. We have, 10 episodes left before becoming a different show until we have a reunion show for 2022. So it's exciting. But gentlemen, thank you as always. Oh, one last thing I had was a plug for Catherine Hahn. Not that you'll hear it, but props on getting nominated for a Grammy for Agatha. That's awesome.
That is cool.
Just props for Catherine Hahn for being Catherine Hahn. Like, she's amazing. But yeah, before we wrap up, Dan, I have one more thing as well. As you like and subscribe and go to comment, please comment someone who's doing something awesome that doesn't have a podcast or a blog. Let's shout them out too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's tough because everyone in the world has a podcast or a blog at this point. So
it's too accessible for idiots to have podcasts.
Yeah, I was recently asked, what aren't you on, as opposed to what are you on? Because I was on somebody's shit from like Ireland last week. And so people are like, what aren't you a part of? And that's fair. But yeah, anybody's doing something great. If we can give them a plug, show them some love, and just spread it, it'd be great. And actually, while he mentioned that, is Gary B, the casual comic guy, continues his quest to get 1,000 subscribers. He's giving away books and he hooks people up and he shouts people out every Sunday to get them more subscribers. So definitely check him out. He was in Cool Points recently too for Gregory. That made his day. He works a lot of hours. I think I sent it to him. He says, I'm going to read this between shifts because he works so much. But he still takes time to give people shout outs. So definitely check that out too. And these gents have a birthday coming in a matter of weeks as well. So we'll have to show them some birthday love when the time comes.
Actually, we will be recording. Okay, no.
It's the day before, right?
Yeah, we'll be recording the day before mine, I believe. Yeah. And a couple days before yours. So.
Yes. But thank you for everybody for tuning in. It's great. We love having you. We are a low production, high energy, high love show. And that's how it should be. So, gentlemen, thank you as always.
Thank you, Dan. Also, I'll add our Venmos in the comments if you guys want to send us birthday presents.
Are we influencers now? I think you have to go to Only Dan's to get that one. Only Dan. All right, gents, you have a great one.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Bye.